As the Assistant Director at Health Promotions at North Carolina State University. The hiring process was online and you have not met your supervisor or your coworkers. In fact, you have no clue what she looks like. The supervisor asks you to come in during a staff meeting so that you will be able to meet her face to face as well as the rest of the staff in the department for the first time. You are a little uncertain on who your supervisor is, but plan to figure it out by the person leading the staff meeting. You walk in the room ready to seek out the Director of Health Promotions, but yet you walk into this. You can't tell who is who. You see staff and students sitting at a large round table. No one is leading the conversation. Everyone addresses each other on a first name basis, and the chairs are distributed evenly. You don't interrupt the meeting, so you stand around to watch and see if you can observe enough of their communication styles to identify who exactly is in charge here. But you see, although there is a hierarchical structure as far as job titles, it appears to be a democratic organization. You observe that there is an even distribution of power and minimal conflict. Just from the scene alone, you may feel confused as to why the organization appears to have such a laid back atmosphere, or you may be impressed at how well the organization is functioning. Either way, upon entering this organization, you must find a way to adapt to this type of environment. A democratic organization has its advantages and disadvantages. However, observing health promotions in the middle of a meeting and trying to make major decisions, it has to be fair to speculate that this type of structure is most successful for the organization. Encouraging input and feedback from everyone eliminates people feeling unheard, disconnected, or powerless. Taking the interpretive perspective, the organization's culture is important to the success of the organization. During this webinar, I will tackle 3 important concepts when approaching a democratic organization. They are structure, function, and leadership. You may be wondering, who am I, or why is this even important? Well, as a graduating student from NC State, I have had the privilege of studying all areas of communication. Each skill set is important when starting a new position in a career. Exploring democratic organizations is vital information for new job entry for graduating students, as it could very much so be the type of job you may get hired for. In a hierarchical organization, the roles, power, and leadership is clear cut. When a conflict arises, there is usually a particular person to go to when seeking help in solving these issues. All of that changes upon joining a democratic organization. You may ask yourself a question such as, how can I be a leader when everyone is expected to have input? A question you will have the answer to at the end of the webinar. So, what is a democratic organization? It is an organization that is structured to encourage and value individual contributions, goals, and feelings of its members. In return, the employees determine how to simultaneously accomplish individual and organizational goals. Some of the themes in a democratic organization is an open line of communication. Lower level employees are able to work closely with supervisors. All employees can put in input on policy changes and each employee is empowered. They do not have to go to the supervisor to make decisions all the time. The advantages of democratic organization is that there is more freedom for employees to lead and give their opinions, promotion opportunities, and everyone is heard. So far, it seems that this type of structure works well, but there are some underlying disadvantages that can turn into potential conflict. Going back to the scenario of walking into health promotions, 2 things can be noted from the staff meeting. The roles of each member was not clearly defined, and decisions being made took a lot longer as everyone was encouraged to contribute. This can become an issue with productivity. It takes time trying to make sure everyone is heard. Another disadvantage is the pressure of democracy and the pressure to make sure that there is a final agreement. This can be any organization's challenge, as incorporating all ideas can be difficult and time consuming. But it seems as if the pros outweigh the cons. Time to explore three important concepts that will make the transition to a democratic organization successful as a newcomer through understanding its structure, understanding its function, and how to be a leader when everyone is given the freedom to lead. The first thing you must observe in the structure of the organization. The structure of a democratic organization uses democratic practices. There are two types of democracy, which are participatory and representative. Participatory involves the individual voting and usually takes place in smaller organizations. Representative democracy involves the selection of a representative to vote and usually takes place in a larger organization. Looking back at the staff meeting at Health Promotions, which type of democracy do they use? If you said participatory, then you are correct. Understanding which type will help you find out through which pathway you will be heard in an organization. When it comes to the functioning of the democratic organization, relationships are primary and the actual tasks that are performed are flexible as everyone is expected to contribute. Interpersonal relationships are most important as the relationships affect the amount of tasks that get done. How many of you have ever had an argument with your supervisor or coworker and became less productive? It happens. According to the article, A Healthy Dose of Trust, the relationship between interpersonal trust and health, the positive effects of a trust are manifold. Making sure that healthy relationships occur can affect the organization's productivity and economics. So, what is one of the key components in building a healthy relationship? Trust. According to the article Building Trust in Democratic Organizations by S.M. Sachs, trust is both the prerequisite for and the product of a well-working democratic organization. The basis of a successful democratic organization is the development of a culture emphasizing mutual respect among all participants. There are three parts in building trust in a democratic organization, which is trust in the organization, trust in one's confidence to participate, and trust in the other participants. Trust is essential when it comes to democratic organizations. It will help build interpersonal relationships throughout the organization. I mean, have you ever built an interpersonal relationship with someone you did not trust? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. This does not include sharing your deepest, darkest secrets, but trust allows you to feel comfortable with sharing your ideas, feelings, and thoughts about the organization. And going back to the interpretive perspective, it's key in the success of the organization. In order to be a leader among leaders, you must use dialogue. If you do not have frequent conversations with other members, you will not be heard. Duh. You must also facilitate consensus so that you are reflecting upon members that they are just as important as every other member. Coming up with a solution that is accepted by everyone can be challenging, but you must communicate the efforts to include everyone and must importantly, empowerment. According to effective empowerment in organizations, empowerment is the perception that workers can help determine their own work roles, accomplish meaningful work, and influence important decisions. Leadership is not all about being noticed as a leader or possessing more power. Leadership can go unnoticed. Empowering others produces more leaders. Applying a similar concept from the article Democratic Practices in Arts Organizations, when people are treated as a social good, they are likely to contribute to democracy by producing solidarity and encouraging commonality. Even in the case in which you are assigned a leadership role or an important task over others, it is important to remain respectful and continue to use innovation. So after sitting in on the staff meeting at Health Promotions, your new supervisor introduces herself. You are pleased with the environment so far. She says she wants to sit down and discuss the structure of the department, how they function, and how you can show your leadership skills that she hired you for. But lucky for you, you are now well prepared. You know that the organization consists of a participatory democracy. You know one of the main functions is the interpersonal relationships that are built off trust. And you know that in order to be a leader in the organization, you must use dialogue, facilitate consensus, and empower other members. Understanding those three concepts will make an easy transition to a democratic organization. As you have reached the conclusion of the webinar, pause the video for a quick activity. As a soon-to-be college graduate, you should have worked, volunteered, joined, or interned at quite a few organizations. Choose one that used a democratic structure and identify one of the three concepts discussed during the webinar. Did they contribute to the success of the organization? How did you interact with other members? Were there any challenges in displaying leadership? Compare your answers with a friend. Thank you.